Jeremy was 7 when Margaret moved in. She arrived in the thick of rainy season, her suitcase balanced on her head, her smile sharp enough to slice bread. The neighbors had whispered, "Too soon. Daniel just buried his wife." Jeremy watched her from the corridor as she greeted them with a sugar-sweet laugh. But even at 7, Jeremy felt it, that eerie stillness in her smile. It wasn't real. Nothing about her was. She smelled of rosewater and dust. She walked like she owned everything, the compound, the walls, the air. And soon, she made sure Jeremy understood, she owned the house now, too. In the first few months, her cruelty came in whispers. "Why are you still sitting? Go and wash the plates," she'd snap as soon as Jeremy returned from school, bag still on his back. He obeyed, always. When he didn't, her voice turned venomous. "Your mother must have spoiled you like a cracked egg. She took over everything." His father, Daniel, a quiet, grieving man, had no fight left in him. Jeremy would look at him sometimes during Margaret's insults, hoping for a sign, a word, a lifeline. But Daniel only sighed and sipped his beer. Dinner became a silent ritual. Margaret served 2 plates. One for herself. One for Daniel. Jeremy got leftovers, if there were any. Once, he asked timidly, "Can I have meat too?" Margaret didn't even look up from her plate. "Meat is for people who bring money into this house." He was 8, the years that followed hardened Jeremy in ways no child should know. His school uniform faded to gray. His sandals split. He stitched them with old wire. Every time he asked for new ones, Margaret laughed. "When you get a job, you can buy shoes." By the time he was 10, her cruelty became more creative. "You're a cursed child," she said one day as he spilled water while washing plates. "Even the devil wouldn't adopt you." He didn't reply. He had learned silence was safer. That same year, he stopped celebrating his birthday. No cake. No smile. No happy birthday from his father. Only Margaret muttering under her breath, "One more year to waste." At 14, everything came crashing down. It was a Wednesday. The sky was bruised with storm clouds. Margaret sent Jeremy to buy rice and pepper from the market. He ran barefoot, hoping to beat the rain, but the heavens broke open midway. He returned soaked, shivering, the nylon of rice clutched to his chest like a lifeline. She was waiting at the doorstep, arms crossed, fury in her eyes. "What kept you?" "It rained," he said, teeth chattering. She slapped him before the last word left his lips. The rice fell. Grain scattered across the floor. "You useless, stubborn goat. Did I send you to swim or to buy food?" I tried to come quickly," he stammered. Another slap. She dragged him by the collar and shoved him onto the wet floor. "Pick it. Pick every grain. Let the earth feed you since you're nothing but a street dog." Jeremy knelt, hands trembling, picking up rice from the mud as tears and rain mixed on his face. He looked up, hoping his father would say something, anything. Daniel stood in the doorway, drunk, silent, holding a bottle. "She's your wife," Jeremy whispered. Daniel turned and walked away. That night, Margaret burst into his room. "Pack your things. You leave this house now. Let the street finish raising you." He stared at her, stunned. "I have nowhere to go." "Not my business. Get out." Jeremy turned to his father's door. Knocked. Waited. No answer. Not even a breath, so he left, barefoot, with nothing but the clothes on his back, and a bitter taste in his mouth. The gate clicked shut behind him. And the world, cold and dripping, swallowed him whole. The first night on the streets felt like dying in slow motion. He curled up beside a kiosk, using a torn cement sack as a blanket. The wind howled. Mosquitoes danced on his skin. His stomach growled until even the ache got tired. By day, he wandered. By night, he tried to survive. He stole leftover mwamwa from behind food stalls. Drank from taps behind public schools. slept in abandoned buildings, dodging area boys and their knives. But he refused to beg. One morning, near the mechanic line in Zaria, hunger and exhaustion nearly made him faint. He leaned against a zinc wall, breathing hard. That's when he heard it, a sharp crack, then a burst of sparks. He turned. A man was welding behind an open gate, hammering steel into shape. Smoke curled into the sky. Sparks shot like fireflies. Jeremy stared, hypnotized. The man looked up. "You go, just stand there or you won't learn." Jeremy blinked. "I said, you day hungry?" He nodded. The man tossed him a cold bottle of water. There's something about pain, the way it either shatters you or sharpens you. By 17, Jeremy had been forged in fire. Each spark in Mr. Patrick's welding shop reminded him of the nights he slept under torn sacks, of rice scattered on wet floors, of silence from the man who was supposed to be his father. But with every hammer blow on metal, every arc of fire and smoke, he was building more than machines, he was building himself. He became known around Zaria as the boy who could make iron obey. By 18, he was designing threshers for local farmers. By 19, he could repair a broken milling engine in 20 minutes flat. Patrick never bragged, but whenever customers praised Jeremy, he'd grin and say, "That boy? Fire day him head. Give 'em 3 years, and you go day beg 'em appointment." And he was right. At 20, Jeremy stood in the corner of Patrick's compound one evening, welding goggles hanging around his neck, and said softly, "I think it's time I leave." Patrick looked at him for a long while. Then nodded once. "You know, be boy again. You man now. But promise me one thing." Jeremy waited. "Train others. The way I train you." Jeremy swallowed the lump in his throat. "I swear." He moved to Minna, a city where people didn't know his name or his past. Where he could build fresh without anyone looking at him like a pity project. He started small, a shipping container behind a filling station. Borrowed equipment. No electricity. Candlelight and sweat. 4 weeks, he worked 12 hours a day. Cut, measured, shaped, delivered. Word spread quickly. This young man fit build anything. By 21, he had a team of 5 apprentices. By 22, he bought a used Lexus. A year later, his fabrication shop expanded into a full compound with electric gates, staff quarters, and a bold black and gold sign, Iron Genius Fabrications. He dressed sharp, denim overalls and polished boots. Spoke quietly. Smiled rarely. People respected him because his hands told stories. His machines never broke down. And he never overcharged the poor, but Jeremy never got drunk on success. He remembered too clearly the sound of Margaret's voice. "You will never become anything useful in life." So he trained others, boys from nearby villages who had nothing but hunger and empty pockets. He paid for their uniforms, bought them food, and taught them not just welding, but dignity. They called him Boss J, but he never let them kneel or call him sir. "Respect yourself first," he always said. "Then respect me." Despite all he built, Jeremy never looked back. He hadn't visited Zaria since he left. He hadn't tried to contact his father. Margaret's face still haunted the edge of his dreams sometimes, not out of fear, but because he never got the chance to ask, why? Why the hate? Why the silence? Why chase a child into the street like a dog? Some wounds don't bleed anymore, but they don't close either. They just hum quietly under your ribs. And then one day, life brought her back. It was an ordinary Saturday morning. Jeremy was driving through Abuja Road, heading to a mechanic to check a rattling sound under his car. Traffic slowed near Bata Junction. Street hawkers darted between cars, waving phone chargers, peanuts, sachet water. Jeremy rolled down his window and waved to a young boy with cold bottled water on his head. "2 bottles, he said. As the boy reached into his bucket, another voice called from the left side of the road, a tired, cracked voice. "Sausage roll and bottle water." "Cold drinks, sausage, please, sir." Jeremy turned his head, money in hand, and froze. The world stopped breathing. there, by the sidewalk, her tray balanced on a crooked arm, stood Margaret, his stepmother, older now. Her once bright skin darkened by years under the sun. Her eyes sunken. Her wrapper faded. Sweat ran down her face. Her lips trembled the moment their eyes met, the tray in her hand shook slightly. Her free hand clenched her chest. She recognized him instantly, and her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Jeremy said nothing. The GLE's engine hummed beneath him like a warning. He looked her dead in the eye, this woman who once called him a curse, who tossed him out like garbage, who said he'd never be useful. Her eyes flooded with tears. Her lips quivered. She looked like a woman who had seen a ghost, or maybe a prophecy come to life, and Jeremy, he didn't feel triumph. He didn't even feel anger, just silence. A heavy silence that wrapped around him like steel. The boy behind him honked, impatient. Jeremy blinked. Looked down at the water bottles. Then back at Margaret. She took a step forward, eyes wet. She tried to say something again, but her throat collapsed under the weight of regret. He could have driven off, he could have looked away, but something kept him there. Some part of him needed to see her, standing under the sun, broken, tired, selling snacks to survive. He didn't know if life had punished her, or if she'd punished herself long before now, but for the first time, he was not the victim, he was the man in the luxury car. The man who had survived it all. Built everything from nothing. The man she said would never become anything. He turned to the boy selling water and paid double, then he looked back at her. Still not speaking. Just looking. Margaret finally lowered her eyes, and Jeremy, without a word, rolled up the window. As the car pulled away, the reflection of her face, worn and wet with tears, faded from the side mirror, and the boy who had once slept beside a gutter disappeared into the city, a storm of quiet power in his chest. The city looked smaller now, or maybe he had just grown. The roads were still patched with potholes. The air still thick with heat and dust. The old market gates were rusted but still standing, exactly how he remembered them. Only now, he drove past them in a black Mercedes GLE with the engine purring low, like a predator holding back its growl. Jeremy had returned to Zaria for one reason, not revenge. Not pity. He didn't even know if he would stop the car when he got to the street where Margaret still lived, if she still lived there. But after seeing her hawking sausage rolls in the street, the past had opened its jaws again, and something inside him refused to remain silent. He needed to face the place that had almost swallowed him. He parked his car a few streets away from the old compound. Boots dusty. Shirt rolled to the elbows. People stared, maybe because of the car, or maybe because there was something different about the way he moved. Something forged in fire. He wasn't a boy anymore. The compound hadn't changed, the same low fence. Same cracked walls with peeling paint. Same crooked guava tree near the corner, leaves dry from neglect. And the same iron gate, slightly rusted, still squeaking when he pushed it open. It was almost too easy to remember. His mother's laughter in the corridor. The prayers his father used to whisper at night. The sound of Margaret's slippers on tile, sharp, fast, angry. The cold rice he ate while they dined. The smell of soap water, and blood on his lips from slaps he never earned. The door was ajar. He stepped inside, empty. Abandoned, dust blanketed the floor. A broken chair leaned against the wall like a drunk resting. Spider webs in corners. The house felt hollow, like it had exhaled years ago and never breathed again. He walked slowly, letting the silence speak. This was the house that told him he was worthless, but it no longer had power. Not over him. Not anymore. Back outside, he asked an elderly woman sitting across the street, "Madam, please, do you know the woman that used to live here? Mrs. Margaret?" The woman squinted at him. "Ah. That one? She still day around. Sometimes she go market, sometimes she hawk for traffic. Life hard for her now. I hear say her husband die some years back. Liver or kidney, something like that." Jeremy's throat tightened. No children? No one stayed with her. She be alone since that boy left. The small boy. Wouldn't be him name again. She paused. Looked closer at Jeremy, he gave a small smile. It was Jeremy. The woman gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Jesus. Nah you? He nodded, she stood. You survived. We thought you died. Nobody see you again. Ha. My God. Jeremy chuckled dryly. I didn't die. Just left. She held his hand like a mother would. You look strong now. God lifted you. He looked at the sky for a second, then back to her. Where can I find her? She was sitting under a faded blue umbrella near the motor park. The sun was overhead now, cruel and unforgiving. Her tray had half-full bottles of water and some crumbling sausage rolls. Her feet were bare. Jeremy stood across the street, watching her from behind a parked bus. For a long moment, he didn't move. What would he even say? Hello, remember the boy you called a curse? Look who became useful after all. Are you proud of what you did? None of it felt right. Because in that moment, seeing her like that, reduced, silent, smaller than the woman he once feared, the fire inside him began to flicker, not with anger, but confusion. He crossed the road slowly. She didn't look up until he was standing right in front of her. When she did, her breath caught. She blinked hard. Her lips trembled. Jeremy, she whispered. He didn't answer. For the first time in her life, Margaret looked uncertain. Human, I didn't know you were back. I wasn't, he replied quietly. But I saw you. In traffic. She lowered her eyes. That day. I couldn't breathe. You looked so different. He asked. She nodded. Yes. Strong. Like your father. Jeremy scoffed softly. I wasn't allowed to be like him, remember? She flinched. Silence. Cars passed. A woman shouted prices from a stall nearby. But between them, time stood still. I'm not here to curse you, Jeremy said at last. I just needed to see if you still hated me. Tears rolled down her cheeks. No. I don't hate you. I never did. I was just angry. Bitter. Your mother was kind, and he married me after her. People compared me to her. I wasn't ready to raise anyone. I took it out on you. She broke down. Shoulders shaking. I ruined everything. Jeremy didn't comfort her. Didn't touch her. Just watched. I thought you'd be dead by now, she confessed. But seeing you in that car, it crushed me. Not because you made it, but because you didn't need me to do it. He nodded. You were right about one thing, he said. She looked up. You said I'd never become anything. And that's what almost happened. But the streets taught me. A stranger trained me. Another man did what you and my father refused to. She sobbed harder now. Jeremy took out his wallet and pulled out a wad of cash, thick, clean notes. He placed it on the tray beside her bottles. She shook her head, terrified. I didn't ask for anything. I don't deserve. I'm not giving you this because you deserve it, he said calmly. I'm giving it because I don't want to carry this weight anymore. I forgive you. She stared at him like he was a ghost, then he added, more quietly, but I will never forget. With that, he turned and walked away. That evening, back in Minna, Jeremy sat alone in his office, staring at the wall. He wasn't angry anymore, he wasn't triumphant either. He felt clean, not healed, not whole, but clean, like a wound that had finally stopped festering. For years, Margaret's words had lived in his blood. Now, they were gone. He thought of Patrick. Of the shed. Of the yam and bottled water that saved his life. Of all the boys in his workshop now, learning, sweating, hoping, and he whispered to himself, this is how the cycle ends. 3 months after Jeremy left Zaria, the past stopped chasing him. it no longer lingered in his rear-view mirror. It didn't haunt him at night. Even Margaret's face, tear-streaked and broken, faded like an old photograph, but just when he thought it was over, life dropped something unexpected at his workshop gate. His name was Samuel, 14. Barefoot. Face smeared with engine grease, holding a torn nylon bag with 2 shirts and nothing else. Jeremy found him loitering outside the Iron Genius gate early one morning, peeking through the bars. The guards had nearly sent him away, but something in the boy's eyes stopped them, something Jeremy recognized immediately, that mixture of hunger and silence. Of shame and fire. He walked over. "You looking for someone?" The boy nodded, eyes low. "I heard there's work here, welding." Jeremy studied him. "Where are your parents?" "Gone," the boy said. "One died. One left. My uncle said I'm a burden." Jeremy stood in silence. It was like looking into a mirror from a lifetime ago. He nodded once. "Come inside. Wash up. You start with sweeping. If you're serious, I'll teach you." The boy's eyes lit up, not with joy, but with something deeper, hope. Samuel learned fast. In just 2 weeks, he could handle a grinder. In 2 months, he was welding small frames with minimal supervision. He worked harder than anyone, spoke little, and always arrived before sunrise. One evening, Jeremy sat beside him under the awning, handing him cold malt and meat pie. "You remind me of someone I used to know," Jeremy said. Samuel smiled shyly. "Was he a welder too?" Jeremy nodded slowly. "He became one. After life tried to bury him." "Did he make it?" Jeremy smiled. "He didn't just make it. He made sure others did too." They sat in silence, the evening breeze brushing past, and in that moment, Jeremy knew, the past wasn't something you ran from. It was something you used to build. To teach. To protect. He had turned trauma into foundation. Pain into power. He had become the man he needed as a boy. Months passed. Iron Genius was booming. Clients came from 3 states away. Jeremy was invited to speak at technical schools and conferences. Magazines called him the Iron Revolutionary. But one day, he asked his driver to take a detour, not to a showroom or client, but to Zaria again, alone this time. He stood once more in front of Patrick's old workshop. The gates were rusting now. The shed behind was half collapsed. Patrick had passed away the year before, and the shop had been closed since. Jeremy entered the compound quietly. The memories flooded him like a slow, deep river. The corner where he learned to weld, the spot where Patrick sat, chewing cola nut and watching him work, the shed, his first shelter. He knelt near the workshop wall and whispered a prayer. "Thank you, sir," he said, voice trembling. "You gave me more than training. You gave me direction when I had none." He left an envelope at the doorstep. Inside, enough money to rebuild the entire workshop and turn it into a free training center for orphans. He named it the Patrick Foundation for Metalwork and Machine Learning, a place for boys like Samuel, for boys like him. Back in Minna, Jeremy stood on the workshop balcony one evening, watching his team work below, sparks flying, iron clanging, voices laughing. Samuel was explaining a machine part to a new apprentice. The boy had grown taller. His hands stronger. He even wore boots now, like Jeremy once did, and in that moment, it struck Jeremy, he had not just healed. He had multiplied healing. He looked up at the evening sky, golden with sunset. The past didn't break him, it built him. The journey hadn't been perfect. He still missed his mother. He still occasionally heard Margaret's voice in old dreams. But those things no longer chained him. They reminded him what it meant to rise, not with revenge, but with purpose, not to prove them wrong, but to prove himself right. And as he turned back into his office, a phrase formed in his heart, a truth carved by pain, and polished by triumph. Moral lesson: you don't get to choose what breaks you, but you do get to choose what you build from the pieces. Dear esteemed viewers, What insights did you get from this captivating story? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed the tale, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notification, so you never miss our latest updates. Thank you for watching and stay blessed.